Facebook, on YouTube. Welcome here on the page of the Kingdom Church Creole and on the page of the Greater Haitian American Chamber of Commerce. My name is David. I'm the campus pastor here at the Kingdom Church Creole, and we hope that you will receive great information in terms of immigration. And we want to invite you, those that are watching online, if you have any questions, to write it down in the chat so that we can communicate the information to our panelists. Nous souhaitons tout le monde qui a regardé nous en direct sur Facebook, sur YouTube, la bienvenue dans la page Kingdom Church Creole et dans la page Greater Haitian American Chamber of Commerce. Non, moi c'est David. Moi c'est pasteur Kingdom Church Creole. Nous espérons que vous avez besoin d'informations qui sont efficaces pour tout ça que vous avez comme question en rapport avec l'immigration. Et si vous avez des questions, notamment pour écrire questions dans les commentaires, de façon à ce que nous puissions communiquer questions à monde qui parle sur le panel. At this time, we're going to have Pastor Jacob Datsuma to come up so that we can start up with a word of prayer.
Let us bow our heads as we pray. Heavenly Father, we give you thanks for the many blessings in which you provide. Thank you for life itself and the opportunity to see this day. Thank you for giving us the chance to wake up this morning. For many went to bed last night with plans, vision, with the understanding that they will have seen today, but did not. Because you who hold the key of life in your hand decide who will see, who will live, and who will not. But each time you allow us to see another hour, another minute, another day, we are grateful for that. And so we're thankful, Father. Father, we come together today first to honor you, to give you the glory only you deserve. We come together, Father, as a community, as we raise this great nation in front of you. We raise every leader in which that are in position. Que Seigneur va guider yo dans décision qu'il a fait. Rendre Seigneur quelle que soit la décision qu'il a fait, li aligné avec parole, li aligné avec présence. Father, our nations need you more than ever as we go through this time, to this season. That is why, Father, we pray that you give them guidance. Each leader that you put in position, give them clarity of mind, that they know how to best serve the people in which you put them in position to serve. The times are changing. But one thing that we know, Father, for sure that we can rest our mind on, man makes his plan, but it is you who have the last say. Let each one of us, Father, that are here today, those that are hearing online, those perhaps at the moment don't know what their future holds. There are some, Father, at this point who's crying, who see no hope, no courage, no future for themselves. We pray, Father, wherever that they are, that you comfort them, that they always know that you are in control. Father, I pray that every speaker that is about to share the thoughts in which you have put them an expert in whatever area that they're about to speak about, that you give them clarity of mind and concision of speech, that their word will be a comfort to someone. Their word will be a word of encouragement to someone. Their word will be a word that changes lives. We say these words, Father, we are not worthy. But may your presence fill this room. And those that are listening, again, we pray that you'll comfort them. In your name we pray. Amen.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Bonsoir tout le monde. Bonsoir tout le monde. My name is Abigail Deravin Louisin. I am the founder of Global Help Center, and I have the privilege of serving as the spiritual leadership chair of the Greater Haitian American Chamber of Commerce. Today, we are truly blessed to have with us some incredible leaders, powerhouses who have sacrificed their time, even on a Sunday, to be here with us. Thank you. Sa yo se moun ki gen kè pou komunote ya, moun ki toujou repon apel la sans hésitation, parce que yo kompren importance bataille sa. They are not just experts in their fields, they are strong leaders who care deeply about our people, our families, and our future. We honor them today for their dedication and willingness to stand in the gap for our community. C'est pas tout le monde qui dispose lever camper pour aider l'autre. Mais moun sa yo la jodia parce que yo kwe nan sa yap defend nan. Before I introduce them individually, let's take a moment to appreciate their presence. Merci parce que nous là, nous wè travail nous et nous reconnaissons. Now, let's just clap for them, please. I know Batman ou pour yo. I know. Let's clap for them, for the leaders. Matande, I can't hear you. And you know, all of you are guests of honors. I've seen many faces here. I want to thank you all for being here. Can you clap for yourselves? Thank you for being here. Merci d'être nous là. Oh, you're clapping for yourself. Oh my God. Merci. Donc, as of now, let me tell you more about these amazing individuals who will be stepping in here to talk to us and encourage us and give us guidelines. We have our Representative Anna Eskamani, Anna V. Eskamani. Anna is a bold advocate for Florida families and the working class. She's born and raised in Orlando. She's a state house representative with a background in nonprofit management and a PhD in public administration from the University of Florida. In 2018, she made history. She made history, guys, by flipping her legislative seat and becoming Florida's first Iranian American elected official. Known for advocacy on housing affordability, healthcare access, public education, equality, tax policy, and environmental issues, Anna secured a permanent tax break on children's diapers and adult incontinence products in 2023. Prior to running for office, Anna served as the Senior Director of Public Affairs and Communication at Planned Parenthood of Southwest in Central Florida. A problem solver with a track record of kind sacrifice, endless hard work, and ironclad values, Anna is known across the state and nation as a leader who is unbothered, unbossed, and committed to the people of Florida. Give it up for Representative Anna V. Eskamani. Thank you for all you do, and thank you for being with us today. We have Mr. Alphonse Lindor. Alphonse is an immigration consultant at Elite Immigration and Professional Services. He has over a decade of experience in the field and was the Haitian Outreach Coordinator at the Neighborhood Center for Families, which was financed partly by the Orange County Mayor's Office. So Alphonse will not tell you, but he doesn't like really to be introduced and all of these things. But we know, if you know, you know. He has helped several hundreds of immigrants. So we are blessed to have someone like him in our midst. Give it up for Mr. Lindor, you guys. Thank you for all you do. Next, we have Attorney Anne Piervil. Anne Piervil was born and raised in Central Florida to Haitian immigrants. Ms. Piervil earned her undergraduate degrees with honors in social work from Florida State University and received her sorry, I have to, say it. Her doctor, I love this. A doctor in jurisprudence, received a doctor of jurisprudence, JD, from Mississippi College School of Law. Throughout her academic career, she has advocated for Haitian immigrants and has extensive experience working with vulnerable populations. Ms. Piervil is currently a project attorney at Florida Legal Services. She joined the organization in 2020 as an Equal Justice Works Fellow, sponsored by the Florida Bar Foundation, with a focus on improving the lives of the local Haitian community and expanding their access to legal resources through her medical legal partnership with Orange Blossom Family Health Clinic. Building on her fellowship, Ms. Piervil quickly distinguished herself by taking an active role in addressing the complex legal needs of Haitian crime victims. She's now a member of the Survivor Advocacy Team, where she provides free, comprehensive legal services to Haitian survivors across Florida. Beyond her legal career, Ms. Piervil is deeply committed to community service and leadership. Ms. Piervil is a board member of the Hope Community Center and take stock in children advocacy. I apologize. Children Advisory Council. Ms. Piervil is chair and one of the founding members of the Haitian Leadership Council of Florida, membership chair of the Paul C. Perkins Bar Association, and Central Florida liaison for the Haitian Lawyers Association. Ms. Piervil is dedicated to her Haitian community, and her favorite Haitian proverb is, "Songez la pluie qui leve maillot." Remember the rain that raised your corn. Give it up for one of our own, Miss Piervil Anne. Thank you. Thank you, sir. And we have another person who's not shy to answer the call. Okay, no matter how urgent or how short notice she receives it. It's our own attorney, Vanette Augustin. Vanette Augustin is a skilled bilingual attorney, fluent in Haitian Creole, who has been successfully practicing law since 2009. She specializes in family law, immigration law, and estate planning, handling cases with personalized attention to ensure tailored solution for every client, recognizing that no two cases are ever the same. She approaches each legal matter with a deep commitment to individualized service. Ms. Vanette earned her undergrad degree from the University of Central Florida and her Juris Doctor from Florida AMU University FAMU College of Law. As the founder of JP Augustin Law Firm, a boutique-style practice, she provides clients with professional, customized legal services. The firm acknowledges that each client brings unique circumstances and legal challenges, even when facing similar legal issues. By prioritizing a personalized approach, JP Augustin Law Firm ensures that every client receives specialized legal support tailored to their specific needs. Let's give it up for JP. She's another one who doesn't really like that, but give honor to whom honor is due. So thank you for all you do, and they are all powerhouses, and we can't wait to hear everything you have to say. Thank you.
Testing, perfect. I first just want to give thanks to the Haitian American Chamber right here in the greater Orlando area. If you please give Abigail an applause and thank them for her work. I had reached out to their president and their leadership team about what can we do to ensure that our community has the information they need to be healthy and safe and to navigate what is a very uncertain legal environment for our immigrant community. And JP jumped into this action, and we put together this event very quickly. So I'm very appreciative for everyone here, and I also want to, of course, let you know that this is one of many community events. I know there's actually another immigrant rights workshop scheduled for next week. There's so many organizations that you'll hear from today that are doing similar work, and we are working in tangent. We are working together as much as we can. Again, my name is Anna Eskamani, and I'm a first generation. My parents are both immigrants from Iran, and I care deeply about the immigrant community, and that is why in the state legislature, I fight for the immigrants who call Florida home. And I do want to provide a disclaimer that, we'll be talking about the legal environment, but of course, we encourage everyone in your particular situation to seek legal counsel, and you do have lawyers here that can be available to you, and there's also nonprofit organizations that can provide legal support pro bono. So we do want to, of course, provide that disclaimer that we are going to be talking about legal guidance, but every case is so different, and the best situation is to seek a personal attorney to really handle your case. With that said, I do have some handouts that I'm going to ask for some assistance in passing out. There's a lot of amazing organizations that champion immigrant rights, and I do have flyers that are in Haitian Creole as well. So if you prefer Haitian Creole, we do have a few copies, but everything else will be in English. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I think the most important point to remember is that regardless of who the president is of the United States, you have rights. You have constitutional rights. And you also have advocates that are navigating this current issue with different hospital systems, school districts, and other places of public and private life. So the handout that is being shared right now provides you with guidance of how to navigate situations if immigration enforcement visits your home and or visits your employer. And so we'll talk more about this with all of our panelists, so I won't read it verbatim right now, but the most important thing to remember is that you have rights. You have a right to remain silent. You can state that if you're approached by an ICE officer, but I will say some of the challenges we have in Florida is a local entanglement of law enforcement with ICE, because that creates a whole new challenging environment when you have everyday police officers being deputized to operate as ICE agents. Not only is immigration law just so incredibly complicated that the idea that an officer would even understand it is inappropriate, but we're eroding the trust between local law enforcement and community members. If you don't feel like you can report a crime due to your documentation status, then of course it's going to make all of us less safe. The other concern that I share is racial profiling and what we call the spillover effect, where even if laws are passed that say they're only focusing on a specific group of people, there's a spillover effect, because the only way to enforce some of the policies that President Trump is signing as executive orders and some of the policies that the state of Florida is debating is for there to be racial profiling, which again is constitutionally wrong, inappropriate, and going to lead to litigation, but it doesn't mean it won't happen. And so we want to, of course, provide guidance on those elements as well. Before I pass the microphone over, I do want to provide you with context, because we've been having conversations with the school district here in Orange County. There's been a lot of concerns that our children are going to be facing detainment and questioning, and these are very valid concerns. The Trump administration has said that children are not off the table when it comes to their engagement on immigration enforcement. So this past Tuesday, there was a discussion at the Orange County School Board meeting seeking more clarity on the policy of our school district. And what we are pushing for is a few things. One, there is a difference between an administrative warrant and a judicial warrant from ICE. I know these are kind of complicated terms, but to make it more simple, an administrative warrant is an internal warrant that an ICE supervisor signs. It's not from a judge, it's not from a court of law, it doesn't have to be enforced the same way that a judicial warrant would have to be enforced. So I'm really stressing to both the private sector and the public sector that we need to distinguish between the two, that if an ICE officer presents at the front office of a school with an administrative warrant, that should not be taken to the same seriousness as a judicial warrant. But in all of these cases, we are recommending that no child, no patient be interacted with until legal counsel engages in the conversation. So for example, if an ICE officer shows up at a waiting room in a hospital, we don't want there to be any exposure of patient privacy, any introduction to the patient, or any permission allowed to talk to a patient until the risk management sector of that hospital, the lawyers of that hospital, review that warrant and then decide how to proceed. In the school setting, we also want to require parental notification. But this is where, for parents in the room, I'm going to really encourage to ensure that your emergency contact information for your child is updated. Because if something were to happen and your teacher needs to contact you, please make sure your information is updated. And I'd also include an additional family member, maybe someone who is a trusted neighbor, someone who lives in a different city. But I think it's really important to make sure that if something were to happen to you, that the school has a good emergency contact in place to relay information and to ensure the safety of your child. We're also recommending and pushing that if ICE does have permission to talk to a child, not only is the parent notified, but an administrator must be present. We do not want a situation where a child is by themselves. But of course, please remember that in all these situations, you have the right to remain silent and you have the right to an attorney, just like in any other criminal situation, right? And so the handouts that you have will walk you through the steps that you can take if ICE were to show up at your door, and again, if ICE were to show up at your place of work. The last point I'll make is a lot of challenges between Florida and other states, because Florida has passed several anti-immigrant policies in recent times that have created a more harsh condition for immigrants and for lawyers navigating the laws in Florida. Some of these laws are still being debated. I was just in Tallahassee this week. I'm going back tomorrow, and there has been debates, you might have seen in the news, between Governor DeSantis and the legislature on different immigration policies. So at this point in Florida, there has not been a state law that has passed, but there is discussion, for example, of requiring the deputization of even school resource officers. So these are officers that are at our schools right now, and they're there to ensure if there's a gun on campus, they address it. You know, they're supposed to be there for our children's safety, but based on the debate we had on the House floor, these officers could be deputized to question students on their documentation status, on their country of origin. And so none of that is official. And if you see it happen, please report it. You can report it to me, you can report it to another elected official you trust, you can report it to the principal, your school board member, your lawyer. And so if you see something, please say something. It's so very important that we protect one another, because we are all we got. The last point I'll make is TPS. So it was just announced today that President Trump has not renewed TPS for the Venezuelan community. This will impact about 300,000, if not more, Venezuelans who are no longer going to have temporary protected status, which means they're at risk of deportation. They now no longer have documentation in the United States. TPS for the Haitian diaspora is still in place, and I believe it's scheduled for February 2026. However, there's always a concern that something could happen. And I'll let my colleagues talk more about that. But again, it's so important to remember that even if the rhetoric says we're only going after those with a criminal record, it's clear based on the images and videos and news stories we've already seen that the impact of these executive orders go way beyond only intervening with individuals who have a criminal background. And again, even those who have been deported, in one case, it was a trespassing issue. And so the degree of crime at this point doesn't even matter, let alone if you've committed a crime or not. And so with that, I will pass it on to my colleagues.
That was beautifully said. For me, I will keep my briefing short because our congressperson covered a lot. Me, I will play 4 short videos for you guys. For those of you who don't speak Creole, if you can go on your phone right now to wehaverights.us, you will find those same some videos in English and Spanish, and I believe it's even in Russian and Farsi. So you will be able to follow along. So you guys can go ahead and play the first clip.
C'était 5h30 du matin, les agents ICE rivé dans l'appartement Esther. ICE vle di renforcement immigration ak la douane. Agent yo ba Esther menti. Yo di c'est la police yo ye, que y a fait une enquête et puis yo te besoin parler ak Marili Alexis parce que yo kwe li te kayon témoin. Yo mande bien innocent. Est-ce que Alexis la kay la kounye? L'esprit Esther di li que ta dwe collaborer. Mais li songe yon bagay li te tende nan radio a. ICE t'a passé la kay moun bien bonnet pour prendre yon nan piège pour yo te ka ouvert porte yo. Esther vin songe li gen droit légal. ICE ka ese prend ou nan piège la kay yo. Yo ka di ou que y ap chercher yon zami, yon famille ou bien yon collaborateur. Ou pas besoin tromper et puis pas ouvert porte là. Prends tête ou et puis rete calme et gentil. Di agent yo ou ta reme wè yon mandat ak identification et puis mande yo glisser document ça en bas porte là ou soit kembe yo devant ti glace porte là pour capable wè. Sans yon mandat qui te signé par un juge, ICE pas gen droit entrer la caillou ou soit chercher rien en dans la caillou. En général, ICE pas gen yon mandat, mais yo capable bay menti, di yo gen yon ou bien montrer yo l'autre bagay qui paraît officiel. Gardez bien ak an pile attention et puis prends photo tout ça yo montre yo. Si yo refuse partager document ça yo, mande yo pour kat yo ak information contact yo. Pas montrer agent yo rien et puis pas di yo rien excepté moi pas d'accord pour entrer dans la caille moi pas vle parler avec ou sans yon avocat pas présent. Tant pris déplacer. ICE pap toujours tande ou et puis yo ka entrer la caillou avec force. Mais bagay sa yo ka aider ou dans tribunal même si agent yo pas coûté. L'autre vidéo qui dans série a va l'aider ou comprendre droit ou gagner si ICE entre dans la caillou ou bien arrêter ou. Esther a Alexis te connaît droit yo et puis officier yo déplacé. Yo te paie en pile, mais songez, nous gen droit légal. Après yo rencontre ak ICE, prend note sur ça qui t'est passé yo et puis écrit en pile détail tout ça ou ka songer. Information ça ka utile ou dans procédure immigration yo qui ka vini. Assurez-vous que vous même ak famille ou préparé pour rencontre ak ICE et que vous gen un plan pour ça pour yo faire si yo arrêté yon nan nou qui inclut information sur qui moun pour aller. Si agent ICE vini la caillou, songez ou gen droit légal. Pas ouvrir porte là. Mandez pour yon mandat qui te signé par un juge. Di yo ou pas d'accord pour yo la caillou, tant pris déplacer. Si vous arrêtez yon moun nan famille ou bien yon zami ou capable joindre yo nan site web locator.ice.gov. C'était un après-midi normal. Jeudi ak zami Liz te sorti pour y aller manger. Yo te rencontré dans l'école là yo te petit et puis yo te zami depuis le ça. Liz c'est un citoyen américain et puis jeudi te vini avec parents li aux États-Unis à l'âge 4 ans. Mais li pas gen papier citoyen. Liz remarqué deux messieurs qui te semblé yo tap suivre yo, mais li pas pensé rien de ça. C'est là ça monsieur les jeudi comme si c'était un moun yo connaît. Les li vire tête li, monsieur vini sous li vite. C'est là ça agent ICE yo identifié jeudi. ICE vle di renforcement immigration ak la douane. Histoire tan kou sa yo rive chaque jour et puis yo rive pi souvent kounye ya. ICE approche moun nan la ria, nan travail yo, nan machine yo, ou bien même dans tribunal là. Souvent, yo pas dans uniforme. Ça ka fait nous peur, mais songez, nous gen droit légal. Si autorité yo campo dans la ria et puis ou pas connaît qui est yo est, mandez yo pour identifier tête yo, laisse à demander est-ce que m'gen droit aller? Si yo dit oui, marchez aller et puis pas répondre aucune question. Dans cas judi a, agent yo te dit li pas te gen droit aller. Si ça arrive, pas résister ou bien essayer sauver. Et puis pas dit rien excepté moi gen droit rester en silence, moi vle parler avec un avocat. Songez bien, ou ka mande parler avec un avocat même si ou pas gen yon. Si agent yo cherche sakou ou bien kou, dit moi pas d'accord avec ça. Y a cherché document qui prouvait statut immigration ou. Témoin yo gen droit enregistrer ça k'ap passé a depuis yo pas entrer bouche là-dedans et puis yo montrer que y a filmé. Judi te gen chance. Même si vous faites toute bagay droite dans scénario comme ça, agent ICO ka toujours arrêté ou. Yon l'autre vidéo dans série a pour aider ou comprendre droit ou si yo arrêté ou. Après rencontre là, Judi ak Liz te prend note tout ça qui t'est passé a ak tout détail yo te ka songer. Assurez-vous que vous même ak famille ou préparé pour rencontre ak Ice et que vous gagnez un plan pour ça pour yo faire si yo vin arrêter yon nan nou, inclut information sur qui moun pour aller. Si Ice campé ou dans communauté ou, songez ou gen droit légal. Pas parler, mandez pour parler avec un avocat, dit ou pas d'accord yo chercher sakou ou bien kou. Si vous arrêtez yon moun nan famille ou bien yon zami ou capable joindre yo nan site web locator.ice.gov. Yo matin, pendant que Alicia ak Javi tal chercher petit yo Sophia dans l'école, des agents ICE frappé dans porte yo. ICE vle di renforcement immigration ak la douane. Agent yo di c'est la police yo ye, et puis y a fait une enquête parce que yo croit que un moun te volé identité Alicia. Javi ouvre porte là yon ti crasse pour tande pi bien. Ça, c'était une mauvaise décision. Pas ouvrir porte là si autorité yo vin la kayou, quel que soit ça yo di. Sans un mandat qui te signé par un juge, yo pas gen autorité pour yo entrer. Mais faites attention, ICE ka entrer dans la caillou ak force quand même. Si yo fait ça, mandez pour yo te placer si yo pas gen un bon mandat. Préparez tête tout, pas paniquer et puis songez, nous gen droit légal. Agent ICO ka cherché dans la caillou pour document ou soit l'autre preuve qui montre statut immigration. Yo pas gen droit faire ça, sauf si vous avez un mandat qui est signé par un juge qui permet de entrer et puis qui est spécialement ba yo permission pour chercher. En général, ICE pas gen un mandat, mais yo ka bay menti, di yo gen youn, ou bien montre yo l'autre bagay qui paraît officiel. Di agent ICE yo, moi pas d'accord ou en de la kay moi, tant pris déplacer. Si agent yo commence chercher, di yo, moi pas d'accord que wap chercher. Mosa yo gen en pile pouvoir légal et puis lè ou di yo capable aider procédure immigration ou même si agent yo pas coûté ou gen droit mande agent ICE yo pour carte identification yo, information contact yo ak mandat yo et puis pour prendre photo n'importe document yo montre yo. Des fois yo pas pral ba ou document ça yo, pas répondre aucune question et puis pas di yo côté moun y a chercher a yo ye ou bien montrer yo aucun document même si yo mandé. Excepté pour un passeport américain qui est valable, ou soit 4 résidences. Information ça, pas pédé ou dans procédure immigration. Yo arrêté Alicia. Pas interrompre une arrestation, parce que li dangereux ni pour ou, ni pour moun nan. Après agent yo quitté, Javi commencé prendre photo des ordres yo fait dans Kylie. Li écrit tout ça li songe qui passait à un pile détail parce que li connaît ça a aider procédure immigration Alicia. L'autre vidéo dans série a pour aider à comprendre qui doit ou gagner si vous arrêté ou dans ICE et puis qui gens pour essayer empêcher agent ICE yo entrer dans la caillou. Assurez-vous que vous même avec famille ou préparé pour rencontre avec ICE et que vous gagnez un plan pour ça pour yo faire si vous venez arrêter yon nan nou, inclut information sur qui moun pour aller. Si agent ICE entre la caillou, songez ou gen droit légal. Di yo ou pas d'accord présence yo dans la caillou et puis ou pas d'accord que y a cherché. Mandé pour voyer mandat qui te sien par un J, pas interrompre yon arrestation. Si vous arrêtez un moun dans famille ou bien un ami ou capable joindre yo dans site web locator.ice.gov. Pendant Samir a sorti travail li pour aller la caille, madame li mandel passer dans un marché pour acheter provision. Pendant la acheter, Samir remarqué un monsieur qui t'a gardé, mais li pas trop si. Li pensé peut-être c'est pas rien. Quand Samir commencé battre fort, li voit un deuxième monsieur qui t'a gardé dehors magasin. Li commencé marcher plus vite dans direction machine li pendant que la dit tête li que li pas te gen raison pour inquiéter. M'gele fou li dit tête li. C'est là ça li senti un moun moyen épaule li ak en pile force. Sans yo pas identifier tête yo, deux monsieur sa yo commencé japper question by Samir. C'était ICE. ICE vle di renforcement immigration ak la douane. Yo arrêté moun kon sa chaque jour et puis yo fait brip sans pinga. Ça ka fait nous paix, mais songez, nous gen droit légal. Si agent ICE arrêté ou, pas parler. Mande parler avec un avocat, même si ou pas gen yon. Si ou te servi comme témoin, les ICE a arrêté un moun, c'est droit ou pour documenter ça ou ak note ou bien vidéo. Pas interrompre une arrestation, mais ou gen doit demander yo pour carte d'identification yo ak numéro badge yo. Si yo arrêté ou, pas signer rien. Kembe toute information ICE ba ou. Yo pral gen information important pour famille ou. Après ICE arrêté ou, yo pral mener ou dans bureau ICE et puis yo pral demander ou en pile question avant yo commencer yon cas de déportation kontou et puis décider si yo pral voyer ou dans établissement de détention. Songez bien, pas dit rien sans avocat ou pas prison. Ou commandez parler avec un avocat même si ou pas gen yon. Dans yon jou, famille wap chercher pour ou dans site web là qui écrit en bas là. Tout ça ka fait nous paix, mais songez, nous gen droit légal. Assurez-vous que ou même ak famille ou préparé pour rencontre ak ICE et que ou gen un plan pour ça pour yo faire si ou vin arrêter yon nan nou qui inclut information sur qui moun pour aller. Si agent ICE arrêté ou, songez ou gen droit légal. Pas parler. Mandez pour parler avec un avocat, pas signer rien. Si vous arrêtez un moun dans famille ou bien un ami ou capable joindre yo dans site web locator.ice.gov.
So, as you can see, you have rights. You don't have to say anything. And Ms. Piervil will cover that more. You have the right not to say anything. They can't force you to answer. They have the right to ask anything they want. But you also have the right to remain silent. Merci.
Bonjour, bonsoir. Moi, simplement, a traduit qui ça, Monsieur Alphonse dit. Li dit comme ça que, même ça qui se répété dans la vidéo, que ou gen droit légal. Ou pas gen aucune obligation pour répondre aucune question que vous moun pose sous statut immigration. Comme ça tout, ou pas gen aucune obligation tout pour ou dire rien. Si yo arrivé arrêter si yo arrivé prendre ou bien même que yo besoin rentrer la caillou ou ka refuser que yo rentrer la caillou ou ka di yo ko pas d'accord yo moun rentrer la caillou et si yo arrêter tout toujours songer pas signer rien pas signer aucun papier que yo ba ou et puis demander pour parler avec un avocat même là ou pas gen un avocat dans même situation ça tu yo ka fort peur songer ou pas obligé peur songez que ou gen droit, songez qu'on pas obligé parler et songez que ou ka demander pour parler avec un avocat. Tout le monde comprend? Gen moun qui gen question? D'accord, merci.
nous pouvons arriver sous question.
Ban nou yon minute.
Oui. Good afternoon. First, we want to thank GAG for allowing us to be here. We want to thank the pastor and the leadership of this church, Pastor David and Lady Rachel, and thank you all for being here to get this information. As stated, my name is Anne Piervil. I am an immigration attorney. So what I'm going to explain today, I'm going to review a law that was signed in the state of Florida. It is SB 1718. So to give a refresher on this law, and then I'm going to give you a legal orientation of certain immigration benefits that you or someone you know may be available to apply for. So first we're going to start with
So, ça c'est Madame Anne Piervil, li c'est yon avocat immigration. Et li just dit comme ça que li pral fait yon, li pral comme réviser yon loi qui relè SB 1718 qui c'est yon loi qui t'est passé et que li pral expliquer nous plusieurs options que nous gain que nous ka appliquer pour yo comme bénéfice que nous ka éligible pour yo.
Okay, so SB 1718 is a law that requires that employers that have more than 25 employees must use a unreliable e-verification system.
So, SB 1718, SB 1718, c'est une loi qui mandait que n'importe patron ou bien n'importe travail gagne un papier qui I'm sorry, Anne, can you repeat that?
E-verification.
Gain you e-verification, c'est un système.
It forces hospitals to ask hospitals or medical centers that receive Medicaid to collect the patient's immigration status.
Li mande que l'hôpital ou bien centre santé qui yo gen comme da dit ça là. Yo gen droit pour yo demander yon papier vérification de statut immigration.
It also criminalizes an individual that is traveling into the state of Florida with a person that is undocumented. This is a felony up to 15 years in prison if you are convicted.
Li vin criminaliser yon moun k'ap voyager dans état Floride avec yon moun qui pa gen papier légal et ça c'est yon felony côté que moun nan ka fait plus que 15 ans dans prison.
It prohibits the funding of community ID programs.
Li vin pa permettre
identification cards. So if you are unable to get a state ID, you're now the programs that allow you to get a community ID, so you would have a picture ID, they're not going to provide money to support that.
Li vin empêcher toute organisation qui ka permettre ou bien qui ka aider ou gen yon ID légal dans état Floride pas ka faire ça kounya.
It also makes it illegal to use any type of driver's license from any other state if you can't get a Florida driver's license.
Li vin fait que si ou pas ka gen yon ID comme si yon carte d'identification dans l'état Floride, li vin illégal pour utiliser n'importe licence ou bien permis de conduite que ou sorti dans n'importe l'autre état avec yo. Ça veut dire si ou gen yon licence ou sorti dans état Massachusetts ou bien New York avec ou pas ka conduire avec dans état Floride, li vin illégal.
It allows the chief of domestic security to coordinate with ICE in the state of Florida.
Li vin permettre kounya que moun ki fait renforcement sécurité locale yo capable mette avec ICE dans état Floride.
It repeals the law that allows lawyers that are undocumented to become licensed in the state of Florida.
Kounya li vin pa permettre avocat qui pa gen papier gen licence yo dans état Floride.
And it allows law enforcement to collect the DNA of an individual if they are suspected to be undocumented.
Li vin permettre la police ou bien moun qui a renforcé sécurité yo, li vin permettre yo prend ADN nous côté que si yo suspecté que nous pas gen papier, li vin permettre que kounya yo capable prendre yon comme yon issu de ADN nous.
So these were some main points of this law, and it was worse, and it is still a effective law.
Loi ça c'est une loi qui style en effet.
And what's important to know is it is not a crime to live with an individual that's undocumented, to provide shelter, rent, or to be in a vehicle with someone that's undocumented.
Ça nous besoin connaître qui plus important c'est que li pas illégal pour vivre dans même cas avec un monde qui pas gen papier quand il s'agit pour bay moun sa yon abri pour payer loyer ou bien même pour aider moun sa.
It is also not a crime to transport someone in the state of Florida that's undocumented. It is when you are coming into the state with that person.
Li vin pas illégal tout pour ou gen yon moun qui pas gen papier dans machine nou. Ça qui illégal c'est loi chercher yon moun dans yon l'autre état pour traverser state line état Floride là avec yo.
And you do not need to answer when you're at a medical facility if they ask for your immigration status. You can simply remain silent or say, I do not want to respond. So you don't have to give that information. You are free to go to hospitals, clinics, anywhere to receive medical treatment.
Ou pa gen aucune raison pour bay moun dans l'hôpital statut immigration si yo bonzo question ça. Si ou pa vle ou ka simplement rester silence ou bien ou ka di yo que ou pa vle bay information sous statut légal ou gen droit pour aller dans l'hôpital ou gen droit pour aller dans centre santé ou gen droit pour prendre n'importe service qui en rapport avec santé ou.
Okay. So now we're going to review just a few immigration options. We're going to flip it. So I'm going to start talking in Haitian Creole, and then our interpreter here, she's going to speak in English, just to ensure that the audience that needs this very important immigration information has access to it. So we're just quickly going to go through on what asylum is, what TPS is, what U-Visa is, T-Visa, VAWA, and family petitions, so we have a better understanding of these different benefits here. So kounya ma parle créole avec nous, l'a traduit en anglais. N'a commencé sous tout bénéfice qu'on a appliqué pour. N'a commencé à asile, TPS, U-Visa, T-Visa, VAWA, and then petition for me. So
now now she's going to speak Creole and I will translate in English for you guys that does not understand Creole. She's going to explain the benefits of different services, like different things you can apply for, such as asylum, TPS, U visas, E visas. She's going to explain the benefits of all of these options.
So premièrement, asile. Qu'est-ce que asile là y est? Si ou c'est un immigrant et ou gen en persécution dans pays ou vient entrer dans pays ça. Et persécution c'est parce que race, nation, religion ou des membres groupe moun yo ta persécuté, aussi opinion politique ou ka appliquer pour application asile.
Asylum, we're going to talk about what asylum is. Asylum is a system put in place to help the people that are in their country and that are going through persecutions, such as because of their race, their color, their skin colors, their opinions, if they are a part of a group, if they are a part of, if they have any political opinion, if they are going through these persecutions, they can apply for asylum here in the United States to protect them.
So pour application asile là, faut qu'on applique non en année. So si vous êtes entré en janvier 2025 avant janvier 2026 pour gagner voyer application. So yo ba en année.
For asylum, they give you about a year. So if you entered the United States on January 26, 2025, you have until January 26, 2026 to apply for asylum. They give you a year period to apply for that option.
C'est très important pour nous connaître à application asile là. Ça me fait de nous c'est 5 raisons qui fait yo ka approuver en application asile. So
There
si
are about 5 reasons, and it's very important to know those 5 reasons that will allow you to apply for asylum.
So si persécution ou pas tomber en bas, une 5 protection asile là ba ou pas ka appliquer pour asile.
If you are being persecuted and the reason for your persecution doesn't fall under those 5 reasons, you cannot apply for asylum.
So, à application asile là, si vous approuvé application asile là, ou ka appliquer pour résidence et famille ou ka appliquer en bas application avec ou et you ka appliquer pour résidence.
So now, when you apply for asylum, if they approve asylum, you can apply for your green card, and your family can also apply for your green card under that application.
It's also important to note that we understand there is a lot of gang violence and different issues happening in Haiti right now. However, gang violence and any other physical violence that is not tied to a protected ground does not fall under asylum, and you are not eligible.
Li très important pour nous connaître que gen un pile violence gang qui passé en Haïti la kounya, mais malheureusement ça pas une raison qui pral permettre ou ka appliquer pour asile. Si ou pas appliquer pour asile et que raison a pas appliquer pour asile nan pas une nan 5 raisons qui permettent ou appliquer pour option ça, malheureusement yo pap approuvé. So ça veut dire si ou ap quitter pays à cause de violence gang à armée qui gagne en Haïti, malheureusement ça pas tombé en bas option pour appliquer pour asile.
Et pour n'importe bénéfice m'a dit nous aujourd'hui, il est très important pour parler à un monde qui travaille dans le domaine immigration pour faire si ou qualifier pour application et pour faire si yo connaît qui gens pour appliquer pour.
It is very important to speak to an immigration professional to know if you are eligible to apply for asylum, and to for them to know how to apply for asylum for you. So you should not go about applying for that option by yourself if you are not knowledgeable about it.
So now, kunya nous entrer sous TPS, Temporary Protected Status. So yo te renouvelé TPS pour Haïtiens. Yo renouvelé jusqu'à 3 février 2026.
So now we're going to talk about TPS. TPS is the Temporary Protected Status, and they just renewed it for Haitians until February 6, 2026.
February 3rd.
February 3rd.
So, ça qui très bon à TPS, c'est li fait yo pas ka déporter ou si ou gen te joindre lettre qui dit yo approuvé TPS ou.
What's good with TPS is that they cannot deport you if you've already received a letter that states they have approved your TPS status.
Ou ka appliquer pour un carte travail et un numéro social.
You can apply for an employment verification card and a social security card.
Ou ka appliquer pour ou ka voyager.
You can apply for a travel paper.
Yo pa ka kembe ou. So si ou gen on let approval en bas TPS ou, si a sta vini na travail ou la ka ou, yo pa ta dwe gen droit pour kembe ou.
That means that if you have that letter that confirms they've approved your TPS, they cannot stop you, they cannot take you. If ICE do come to your place of work, they cannot detain you.
So, c'est très important pour connaître. Pour nouveau asile ça, yo te changé date là. Si ou te gen temps entre le pays et ou ta vivre dans pays avant 3 juin 2024 ou ka appliquer pour TPS.
For TPS, they've changed the date. If you've already entered the country and you've been living here since before June 3rd, 2024, you can apply for TPS.
So, si ou haïtien, ou ta vive dans pays avant 3 juin 2024, yo poko arrêté ou, so pas un problème criminel, li très important pour ou appliquer pour TPS. Même si ou te entré dans le programme Biden, programme parole, même si ou gen ta appliqué pour asile, même si ou gen une famille qui fait une application pour protection, yo bay en bas TPS là important. So si ou un haïtien ou te dans pays avant 3 juin 2024, si ou pas gen carte résidence, m'ta dit li fait sens pour appliquer pour TPS.
So, Attorney Piervil said, as a Haitian, if you've been living in this country since before June 3rd, 2024, she would advise you guys to apply for TPS, even if you've already applied for asylum, even if someone has already sponsored you, it is important to apply for TPS.
Okay. So, kounya n'a pas entré sous un visa qui relève U visa. Ça, c'est un visa pour un monde si ou c'est victime d'un crime.
Now we're going to talk about the U visa, and the visa is specifically for, and can you repeat that for me, please?
So the visa is for an individual that is a victim of a crime. So if you have been living in the United States and you have been a victim of a crime, you can apply for that visa.
Yeah, and juste pour m'ta répéter tout, li dit que pour appliquer pour TPS, si ou pas gen aucun problème légal avec la police, si ou pas gen rien qui sous report ou ka toujours appliquer sur TPS. Pour TPS.
So, U visa. Visa, ça, c'est un visa qui aide la police les immigrants victimes en crime. Pour ou ka qualifier pour visa ça, premièrement, faut qu'on montre ou c'est victime en crime.
Now, we're going to talk about the U visa. The U visa is basically a visa available for someone who's been attacked or who's been subject to any criminal act by law enforcement.
By anyone, so not just law enforcement, so just a victim of a crime. And there's a list of qualifying crimes. So si ou victime en crime, so c'est pas la police, on monte frappé ou, yo gen list crime, yo approuvé pour visa ça. Kounya visa ça dit, faut qu'on ka montre ou te souffri physiquement aussi mentalement en pile.
So with this visa, it's not just law enforcement, it's just anyone. If you've been a victim of a crime, you can apply for that visa, and you have to show proof that you have suffered tremendously from any physical and mental distress.
Faut qu'on travaille à la police aussi, avocat Florida ou n'importe côté où y est, pour ou ba yo information sous crime.
You have to work with law enforcement and any Florida lawyers to give them information about this crime.
Et faut qu'on joigne en lettre qui signe dans main en office, la police aussi, the state attorney's office, FBI, law enforcement.
You have to have a letter that has been signed by the state attorney, like she said, FBI or a police department.
So, a visa ça, ou montre ou c'est victime en crime, ou t'es dans pays, ou montre ou t'as souffri d'esque ou c'est victime en crime, kounya ou voyez là, yo signé un document, kounya ou ka appliquer pour visa ça. A visa ça ou ka joindre résidence. A visa.
So after you get that letter and it's been signed, you can apply for the U visa. If you have all of the proof, like, you've been through, mental and physical distress, you can apply for this visa. And with this visa, you can apply for a permanent residence to stay in the United States.
Et ou ka appliquer pour résidence pour famille ou, même si famille en Haïti en bas visa ça.
And you can apply for the permanent residence for your family in Haiti, even if at that time, when it happened, they were still there.
A visa ça, c'est très important pour comprendre ou pas qu'à appliquer pour visa jusqu'à ou joindre forme nan signé. So faut qu'on donne pour forme nan signé avant ou qu'à voyer application.
It's very important to know that you have to have that document signed. Without a signed document, you cannot apply for that visa.
Visa sa yo sel bay 10,000 par année.
With this visa, they only give about 10,000 a year. 10,000 U visas a year.
So nan moment sa pou ou ka jwen approval en ba you visa, li ka pon 5 ou 6 année.
So now, for you to be approved under a U visa, it will take you about 5 to 6 years.
Ok, so sa se application U visa. Kounya na pale application T visa.
Now we're going to talk about the application for the T visa.
Application sa se an application pou moun si ou se victim sa yorele human trafficking.
This application is for people that has been victims of human trafficking.
So application sa ba ou protection si on moun tap force ou fe on travail, nou rele sa labor trafficking.
This application is it's eligible for you to apply for this visa if you've been victim of labor trafficking or if you've been forced to do things to do work that you did not consent to.
Or aussi sex trafficking.
Or if you've been a victim of sex trafficking.
Ou aplike pou T visa, fok ou ka moutre ou se victim yon human trafficking nan.
For you to apply for a T visa, you have to prove that you've been a victim of any sort of trafficking, sexual, human, etc.
Fok ou nan peyi ya.
You have to be in this country. You have to physically be in the United States for you to apply for this visa.
Ou nan peyi ya paske human trafficking nan.
And you have to be in the United States because of human trafficking. That means if you came here voluntarily, it doesn't apply to it. You have to have been trafficked from your home to the United States for you to be eligible to apply for this visa.
Fok ou moutre si yo ta depote ou si ou ta kite peyi ya ou tap soufri en pile.
You have to show proof that you would be suffering or it would be difficult for you if you were to be deported or if you were to leave the country, that you would be in deep distress.
Et si la police ou si an office gouvernement mande pou edu ou ede.
And if law enforcement or any offices of law enforcement ask for your help, you have to be willing to help. Like the FBI, etc.
A visa sa, ou pa bezwen an lot ofisyen an document pou ou ka voyel pou kontou. So sa bon, visa sa pa gen limit sou li. So nepot moun ka aplike. Et a visa sa ou ka aplike pou residence en Bali et pou residence pou famille.
Okay, so something that's different with this visa from the U visa is that you do not need to have this form signed by any office or any bureaus. You can use that you can just go ahead and apply for a permanent resident without having it signed by any bureaus or any law enforcement office. You can apply for yourself and you can apply for your family as well.
Kounya nap entre sou an visa ki rele VAWA, Violence Against Women Act.
Now we're going to talk about a visa named VAWA, Violence Against Women Act.
So ça c'est un visa qui bay protection pour un moun si ou gen en famille qui abuse ou et moun nan citizen ou si moun nan resident.
This visa is basically a visa that allows you are eligible to apply to it if you've been abused by a family member who is a legal resident here in the United States or a citizen here in the United States.
So visa sa bay protection pour famille en bas 3 catégories.
So with this visa, it protects family members under 3 categories.
So premier c'est ou te marié à un moun nan citizen aussi moun nan resident.
So the first one was that you have to have been married to a citizen or a legal resident here in the United States.
Deuxième nan, c'est ou c'est un parent, so PT2 citizen aussi PT2 resident.
The second you have to be a parent of a legal permanent or a legal citizen. I mean, a citizen here in the U.S. So basically, you have to have a kid who's a citizen here in the U.S.
Et troisième nan, c'est ou c'est un timoun, so parent tout get a resident aussi un citizen.
The third one is you have to be a child of someone who is a legal resident or a citizen.
So, pour ou ka appliquer pour application VAWA, premièrement, faut que montre une nan trois relation yo.
For you to apply for that visa, you have to prove that you fall under those three categories, that you have a relationship within those three categories.
Faut que montre ou ta vive à moun nan.
You have to show proof that you've been living with that person.
Faut que montre ou te souffri, moun nan te frappé ou aussi ou te recevoir abuse nan moun nan mental.
You have to show proof that you have been mistreated or that you have been physically or mentally abused by that person.
Faut que montre ou même ou c'est un moun nou rele sa good moral character. So ou même ou poko yo poko arrêter ou poko gen problème à la police ne pays ça aussi dans l'autre pays.
You have to show proof of a clean record. That means that you've never been you've never had any problems with law enforcement within the United States or outside of the United States.
Aussi, si ou affili en bas en mariage, faut qu'on montre ça c'est un mariage qui relève good faith marriage. So ou t'es marié parce que ou t'es dans l'amour, ou t'es remet moun nan, mais pas parce que ou t'es marié pour papier.
So if you are applying under, like, if you fall under the category of someone who's had, who's been abused by their spouse, you have to show proof that the marriage was a good faith marriage, that it wasn't just, that you got married for papers, that you got married to the person because you loved each other, and that you were just building your family.
En bas visa ça ou ka appliquer à tête ou pas besoin di moun nan. So si ou marié ou pas besoin marié à ba on aucun papier, si ou son ti moun parent ou pas besoin yo pour appliquer ou ka appliquer pour compte.
You can apply for this visa by yourself. You don't need any papers signed by your spouse. If you're a child, you don't need any papers signed by your parents. You can apply for it by yourself. You don't need any authorizations.
Et ou ka appliquer pour résidence en bas visa ça et pour résidence pour famille.
You can also apply for a green card or permanent resident for yourself and your family under this visa.
Visa ça by en pile protection. So, pour exemple, le ou voyez visa ça, premièrement, ou ka voyez sur une autre adresse pour ba ou protection. So, ou pas besoin de divorcer, aussi quitter kala moun nan, ou ka mettre adresse en l'église, adresse en pasteur, adresse en moun ou connaît qui ka kembe document yo pour moun nan pa connaît.
When applying for this visa, they want to keep you safe, so they give you protection options. You don't have to be divorced with the person, or you don't have to be living in another household or in a household outside of that person's household for you to apply for that visa. You can still be living in that house as long as you give an address. You can give your pastor's address, a church address, someone else's address for them for you to apply for that visa. You don't have to leave the house in order for you to apply for the visa.
Et à visa ça, moun nan pa ka rele immigration aussi voyon lettre pour yo joindre information sur visa ça. So depuis ou voyez visa ça, yo mette en protection sur li, yo pa ka expliquer information à personne s'il pas ou même aussi avocat ou.
And with this visa, you have confidentiality. So the person, your spouse, your parents, they cannot call immigration against you. They cannot give any information about you. You do get that confidentiality protection where they don't allow anyone to gather any information about your legal status or any information about you whatsoever.
Kounya nap enter sou denye visa, family petition.
Now we're going to enter the family petition visa.
So, visa sa se petition famille. Ça c'est un visa côté quelques familles ka appliquer pour un lot membre de famille yo.
This visa is basically a visa that allows other family members to apply for their family members.
So, kounya map explique qui famille qui ka appliquer en bas visa sa.
Now we're going to explain what family member can apply for this visa or what family member they can apply this visa for.
So si ou marié à un moun et moun citizen aussi moun résident yo ka appliquer pour.
If you are a spouse of a citizen or a legal permanent resident, they can apply for you.
Si ou parent ou un citizen yo ka appliquer pour ti moun yo.
If a parent is a citizen, they can apply for their kids.
Et si ou un parent et ti moun nou un citizen et li rive l'âge 21 ans li ka appliquer pour.
And if you are a parent with a kid that is 21 or old, that they are 21 years old, they can apply for you. Like your parent can apply for you if you're 21.
Kounya si ou résident ou ka appliquer pour ti moun nou aussi pour madame ou mari ou.
Now, if you have a green card, if you are a permanent resident, you can apply for your spouse and your kids.
Et si ou même ou c'est un citizen ou ka appliquer pour un frère aussi.
If you are a citizen, you can apply for a sibling, a sister, or a brother.
So li très important pour nous comprendre catégorie sa yo.
So it's very important to understand these categories.
Parce que m'pa di ma tante, m'pa di ma reine, m'pa di grand-mère, grand-père. Celle ça m'te dit c'est en bas catégorie sa yo ou ka appliquer.
Because we did not say an aunt, a godparent, a grandpa, or a grandma. You can only apply for a family petition under those categories. So you have to be a spouse that has their citizenship or their permanent resident. You have to be a kid with parents that have their citizenship or they are resident, and you have basically you have to you can apply for your brothers and your sisters. You can apply for your siblings.
Li très très important pour connaître li c'est un crime pour ou marié pour papier.
It's very important to understand that it is illegal to get married in order for you to get your papers.
Yo ka arrêter ou et yo ka mettre au prison et charger ou encore pour ou payer.
They can arrest you, they can put you in prison, and they can fine you.
So li important pour connaître les ou a fait application sa yo pour ou faire si ou gain relation ou a appliquer pour.
It is important to understand when you are applying for these applications or these visas that your relationships are in good faith.
Et a reste visa yo j'aime t'a expliquer ou ka appliquer pour résidence en bas visa ça.
And with the other visas, which are the U visas, the T visa, and the VAWA visa, you can apply for a green card under those visas as well.
Seule application m'te expliqué qui pas ba ou un gens pour joindre résidence c'est TPS.
The only application that does not give you options to become a legal permanent resident in the U.S. is TPS.
Okay, so me souhaite nous joindre information et nous comprendre.
So I wish that you guys gathered these information and understand them.
Thank you. Merci.
Hello. Hi. So I was invited to speak about the family law aspects of this.
Yo te invité là pour me parler à propos de loi, de aspect loi famille.
Okay. So ma parle na Creole. So gen aspect de family law qui traverse dans immigration. So, pi for pi bagay yo te besoin parler c'est sous parent ou vle bay yon lot moun droit sous ti mounou, comment ça affecte ou même et comment ça affecte immigration.
So there are laws that transfers, or I could say transcend within from family immigration from family laws to immigration laws, where if you give someone rights over your children, how that could affect you and how that could affect your children.
Right. So, gen kat avni ou ka bay yon lot moun droit sou pou pon soin ti mounou, et puis m'a parlé de tout kat.
There are 4 options in which you can give someone else rights to take care of your children, and we are going to talk about all these 4 options.
Okay. Premièrement, c'est really, I don't know how you say power of attorney in Creole. Droit signati. So premier, c'est power of attorney.
The first option is power of attorney. Pour moun ki pa pale anglais yo, droit signature sou ti mounou.
Deuxième nan, c'est custody ba yon moun ki nan famille yo. Temporary custody ba yon moun ki nan famille yo.
The second option is temporary custody to a family member. Ça veut dire si ou bay yon moun nan famille ou gardien pititou, comme si ou bay moun sa, ou si yon papier légal qui dit c'est moun sa qui responsable pour pititou.
The troisièmement, c'est guardianship. Ça, moun confise ça en pile. So, m'a expliqué ça hier, mais il relè guardianship.
The third one is guardianship. The guardianship, people really kinds of confuses it a lot, so we're going to explain what it is.
Et puis, dernier, c'est adoption.
And the fourth option is adoption.
Okay. So, ça qui pi facile, c'est power of attorney.
The easiest one is power of attorney. Ça qui pi facile, c'est droit signature sous petit nou.
Right. So, ou gen yon moun, ou gen confiance, yo ap fait bon parti mounou, den ou fait un document dit comme ça, mais tout preuve ou bay moun en tant que yo ka fait décision l'école, yo ka mené ti moun nan docteur, so yo ap fait comme si yo c'est ou même comparant ti moun nan, mais yo pa parent ti moun nan.
So if you have a family member that you have good faith in, someone that you know is going to do good by your children, that they can take decisions such as school decisions, personal decisions, that they will take care of that kid, that is the easiest option to go about.
Because ou pas besoin aller dans tribunal pour un juge signer ça. Ou simplement signer ça avec yon notaire, ou gen des moun qui witness qui ouais, c'est ou même qui signe. So ça c'est plus facile.
With that option, it is easier because you don't have to go to court. You can only sign it with a notary, someone who is specified or like notarized, and 2 witnesses in the room in order for you to sign this option.
Okay. Avec ça, ou still parent ti moun nan, ou ka revoke n'importe le ou vle.
With this option, which is the power of attorney, you're still the legal parent of the child. So you can revoke it any time that you wish to.
Ou pa pedi ken droit kon parent ti moun nan.
You do not lose any rights as that kid's parent.
Okay. So, deuxième nan, c'est ça moi recommandé, c'est custody ou ba yon famille pour charge nan ti moun nan.
The second one is a custody that you give your family, which she recommends, is giving custody of your child to a family member or anyone for that matter.
Right. Custody ça c'est temporaire. Temporaire vle di si ou moun avec ti moun yon année, 2 années, that's okay. Language more temporaire simply mean you can revoke li n'importe le ou vle.
This option is temporary. That means that your kid can be with that person for a year or 2. It is something you can revoke anytime that you wish to.
So, avec ça, ou pa pedi droit, kon parent ou still parent ti moun nan, men gen yon lot moun si yon bagay rive ou sa ka, ou ka faire, sorry, map di pi bien. Avec ça, ou ka bay moun nan custody tetli, ou ka kembe li ensemble avec moun nan.
With this option, you can give that child to that person so they can have custody of that child, or you can have joint custody where you can still raise that child with that person.
Okay. So, raison me dit ça plus facile parce que oui, gen yon devant juge, mais d'abord parent ti moun nan de oui, ça c'est un monde qui ka prend soin ti moun man. Juge la plusieurs fois yo signé li. La constatation bagay rive ou en migration ramasse ou then gen yon lot moun qui ka prend soin ti moun.
The reason why she recommends this option is because you go in front of a judge and they sign that custody petition. That means if you were picked up by immigration or anything happens to you whatsoever, that person now becomes legally responsible for that kid.
Okay. Et puis ça tout ou ka révoquer li. So si ou vle ou pas d'accord avec moun encore pour faire gardien pour ti moun ou ka simplement révoquer li et puis nous fini.
And it is also
mais ou gen pour aller devant juge pour révoquer li.
And it is also revocable. So if you happen to just decide that, okay, you want to stop that custody, you have to go in front of a judge. You can't just stop it like that. You have to go in front of a judge and you have to go through the necessary routes to revoke that option.
Okay. Troisième c'est guardianship. Ça c'est ça tout le monde confusé. Yo vin nan office la yo di m'vle faire guardianship, mais ou pas comprendre qui ça guardianship qui ça lié.
This option is guardianship. It is something that a lot of people confuse. They come to the office, they ask to sign a guardianship, but they don't really know what a guardianship is.
Okay, so ne ou ba yon famille custody de petit tout, damon juge la signé nous fini. Nan guardianship, le ou ba c'est il pas fini le juge la signé papier yo. Gen chaque année faut des moun aller faire un report devant juge là pour dire comment ti moun yo dans l'école, comment ti moun yo dans medical, ça ka passer dans vie yo, si yo vinn gen cob, comment nous a marcher avec cob ça. So ça pire parce que qu'on y a ou mette plus responsabilité sur moun qui a fait gardien.
With this option, which is guardianship, it's very different from when you give custody of your child to someone. Because every year with the guardianship, with the custody, once the judge signs the papers, it's done. Like you don't have to go back to the judge unless you want to revoke it. With the guardianship, every year they have to do a follow-up with the judge. They have to do a follow-up with their school to know how they are doing in school, to give financial reports. If you receive money for that child, you have to show proof of what you do for that with that money for that kid. It's basically they do a deep dive into how that kid is doing under your custody within the guardianship.
And with guardianship, you don't sorry, Creole. Avec ça, ou pas perdre droit parent ou still parent ti moun yo ko ou ka aller devant juge di ou pas vle guardianship là encore.
And with this option, you're still that kid's parent. You don't lose any rights as a parent. You can go and stop that guardianship, like revoke the guardianship. The only thing is it gives more responsibility to the person that becomes a guardian to your kid.
Dernièrement, c'est ça m'pa vle pour faire, c'est adoption. OK? Adoption ou dit m'pa parent ti moun nan encore. OK, ou terminer droit kon parent.
The last option is what she does not recommend at all, which is adoption. Because with adoption, you basically give up your rights as a parent. Like you have no more rights when it comes to this kid.
Yes, so nous te gen yon situation kote yon moun te di yon moun ba yon fwe adoption ti moun nan parce que den sa ka fait ti moun nan legal. Et puis la ti moun nan vin gen 21 ans, den yo ka vin bay parent papier. Non, ça c'est pas bon parce que ou pas parent encore. Parent ti moun nan c'est fwe a ou se a ou moun nan ki a fait adoption ti moun nan. So pinga si ou a fait adoption, c'est parce que ou pas vle ti moun nan encore. OK, ou pas ka prendre soin petit moun nan, ou vle on l'autre moun pour prendre ti moun nan, parce que ou pas parent encore pas gen yon situation côté ti moun nan ka lè ou 21 même lè ou gen papier yo pas ka faire rien pour parce que c'est pas petit tout yo.
So with adoption, you have to understand that you give all rights up. So you have no rights regarding that child anymore. She had a situation where someone said, oh, you know, as a brother, let me adopt this kid. And then once they turn 21, they can apply for you to have your permanent resident. Unfortunately, because with adoption, you give up your rights as a parent. You're no longer that kid's parent. So that means that kid is not just biologically, they're only biologically related to you. They're no longer your kid in the face of the law. They cannot do anything for you. If you give your kid up for adoption, that kid cannot help you become a permanent resident, or if you adopt someone else's kid, they will not be able to help that person back home become a permanent resident because they have given up all of their rights as a parent.
Yeah, so ça fait me dit pi bon option c'est là où faire custody by en famille parce que là ça ou still gen droit au sous ti moun nan mais si on va arriver où ti moun nan yo ka prendre soin ti moun yo fait décision l'école tout bagay yo ka fait comme si yo parent mais ou still parent.
So the reason why she recommends the power of attorney
Not
is
power, custody
of the kid, so basically just the custody, is because you're still the parent of that kid. You do not lose that right as a parent. So if anything happens to you, that kid is still yours. And if they do grow up, you know, if you need any help or anything, they will be able to help you because you're still a parent legally. You still have rights when it comes to that kid.
Okay. L'autre bagay yo te mande pour me parler c'est si qui qualité situation te kou sou gen domestic violence nan kay la ou qui qualité situation pour pas faire pour make sure ka immigration ou pas affecté.
The other thing that they asked her to talk about is basically the options, the household options, which means if you have any domestic violence in your household or anything within your household that will affect your immigration applications.
So de bagay m'a parlé. Premier c'est pinga mette men sou ti moun.
So the first thing that we will say is do not hit your children. Don't put your hands on your kids at all.
M'konne Haïti, nous tout pon bâton, right? Nous tout vivre, mais ici c'est pas bagay ça, right? Ou pas ka mette main sous ti moun, sou mette main sous ti moun, l'état ka entrer yo pon ti moun.
We know that within the Haitian culture, it is accepted to correct your kid or to, you know, paw once in a while. But here, it is illegal to put your hands on your kids as law enforcement can enter. They can take the custody of the kids. You can lose all rights to your children.
So, le one entre nan ça c'est un different court, il y a le dependency court. Dans dependency court c'est un juge qui a pas fait décision est-ce que pour nous prendre ça ou faire ti moun nan si grave est-ce que pour nous prendre ti moun nan terminer ou même comparer ti moun nan ou est-ce que il pas tellement grave nous ka travailler avec ou pour montrer ou comment pour parent ti moun nan pour ti moun nan ka retourner avec ou.
If that does happen, that you hit your children, law enforcement get a hold of them. They go to a court called dependency court where the judge will analyze and decide whether what you did was despicable and that they don't want to return the kid to you, or whether what you did was just, you know, not simple, but if it was something that wasn't so grave or something too bad, and they will give you options or they will teach you how to parent your children correctly.
Non-dependency court, si sa juge la vle, c'est est-ce que gen yon bagay nou ka fè pour nous réunifier nous avec ti moun. Si gen yon bagay nou ka fè, then nou ap fè li pour nous ka retourner ti moun nan ba ou.
In the dependency court, one thing that the judge focus on is if there are any options or if there are any ways they can do a reunification so they can reunify the parents and the kids. If there is something that they can do to make that happen, they will do all they can to make it happen.
So m'pa gen concern de dependency. Mais problème nan c'est ou vin dans dependency court, là ou fait application dans immigration side. Yo gade un bagay ki le moral turpitude. Sa moral turpitude dit c'est nous garder est-ce que le nous garder ou même kon moun, est-ce que nous vle ou citizen ici? OK, est-ce que ou bon enough pour faire citizen? So même là où un juge dit comme ça dans dependency court, il dit comme ça, oh on a retourné ti moun nan pa nga faire ça yo vle. Immigration ka still garder ça parce que yo ou abuser ti moun nan, est-ce que ça un crime de turpitude? So juge ça ka retourner ti moun nan dependency, mais immigration dit non parce que ça ou fait il montre c'est pas un bon moun ou yé, so nous pas ba ou papier. So please just ping up back ti moun.
So with this option, basically, we're not really worried about dependency because it really has nothing to do with like immigrate. Well, it does, but we're not really worried about it. The reason why we should keep it in mind is basically that when you are going to apply for your citizenship or any immigration applications, they will look at something called moral turpitude, and under that, if it shows that you have abused your children, or if it shows that these kids went to the dependency court, that can give immigration a reason to not approve your application because they see that you have quote unquote abused your children.
Yeah, so please just bring up back to me, okay?
So please do not pawpaw the children.
Yeah. So deuxième bagay c'est bagay ki le injunction. OK? Moi fait divorce parce que what 16 années konye a là nous gen yon situation côté ou gen yon moun a fait divorce or custody ou pas marié mais ou fait ti moun ensemble n'a séparé nous vle faire custody de ti moun nan. Premier bagay yon fille a fait, pardon fille, so don't take offense. Si yo connaît si me dit monsieur a bat moi fait exemption, then côte la ka dit comme ça ti moun nan pas besoin aller avec monsieur pour qui ça parce que si me gen ti moun nan plus fois la paye plus child support. So please hier fois ça arrive monsieur yo so monsieur yo sous non chambre nan ou avec yon fille nous a séparé. S'il vous plaît si do ou soumettez mes sous moi après les police just moun sa just sorti nan kay la parce que yo a fait li et puis le ou fait injunction ça li gen pour faire li aller nan court li dit oh moun nan bat moi li montre photo li fait un ami fait un bagay juge la signé un document parce que si semblait ou moun nan gen mal juge la signé li pour nous ka protecter ou après nous signé den nous faire yon hearing. OK? So, s'il vous plaît, si on fait jambe de la battu ou la près les police, ça c'est pas un monde ou gen pour avec lui parce que ça ouais situation côté yo fait menti et puis ou perdi ti mounou, c'est pas seulement perdi ti moun nan ou pas ka faire papier parce que ou gen domestic violence sous papier.
So the other option we're going to talk about is injunction. Basically, if you are with someone, a woman or a man, because they do suffer domestic violence as well, if you are married to someone and they threaten to call the police, if you are in any disagreement, they threaten to call the police and accuse that you have put your hands on them, please, please, please leave the household. Because even if you did not do it, if that person accuse you and they go to the court and the judge signs the injunction, that can prevent you from getting your papers. That can affect your immigration application because you have an injunction. So that also falls under the moral turpitude thing because that shows that you're not a safe person to become a citizen.
Et puis si on bagay sa arrive ou côté où jwen yo vin arrêter ou puis ou gen injunction et puis why not hearing pinga ou kay nan court nan ki n'importe fois pas avec avocat but s'il vous plaît nan injunction cherchez un avocat pour aller avec ou parce que gen parfois juge la pa dit oh est-ce que ou d'accord pour nous amis ou pa dit oui ça fait sens. Mais ça yo ap mando c'est si ou d'accord avec injunction. So ou ka vin d'accord avec yon bagay que ou pas même connaît. So pinga ale sou pa gen avocat parce que pour gen yon injunction li, sou gen yon avocat c'est red parce que gen yon pile bagay pour montrer et puis plusieurs fois moun nan pa gen li. So pinga non sou ale ou salou pa ka joindre yon avocat si juge la dou, oh est-ce que ou d'accord pour nous amis? No. D'accord nous ka amis mais pas besoin injonction. So make sure ou dit non, pas d'accord avec injonction, pas vle parce que plusieurs fois juge gen parfois yo fait ça parce que yo gen un pile cas devant yo. So si yo ka fait ça vite, then you have fait vite pour yo fini. So s'il vous plaît bien jamais d'accord avec yon injonction, mais plus bon aller avec yon avocat parce que plusieurs fois loi ça yo dit dans papier yo pas jamais marcher ça qui dans loi et puis nous ka dismiss li là comme ça ou pas rien qui affecte immigration application.
If that does happen, that you get arrested and you have to go to a hearing, you have to go to a court and face a judge. When it comes to the injunction, always make sure you have an attorney with you. Always make sure you have a lawyer with you because sometimes what they say verbally does not match what the law is. They can trick you into signing, into accepting things that you have no understanding of. So make sure that you bring an attorney because then they cannot trick you into signing certain things. And also, that person that accuses you, sometimes they will ask them to show proof of things that they don't have. So it's always good to go to an injunction with an attorney. Never go to an injunction without an attorney.
And like I said, if you go without an attorney, do not agree with the judge that yeah, y'all could be friends. No.
Et puis, si nous allons dans juge, et puis nous allons sans un avocat, puis nous d'accord, dit ok, oui, nous d'accord nos amis, ou bien nous d'accord avec aucun rien que juge l'a demandé.
Thank you so much to all of our speakers and to our translator. Merci. I think we're going to take some questions now. And so if you have a question, we can maybe have a microphone travel and you can ask the question in Haitian Creole or in English. We will translate to make sure everyone can access information.
Kounya nous pral poser nous pral demander questions. Si vous avez une question, n'a bay micro et puis n'a traduit qui question qu'on pose yo. I'm gonna go to m'pral pour li avant parce que télé fait mail depuis tout à l'heure.
Bonsoir. Merci pour toute information ça yo. Moi j'ai une question, m'pa connais si avant de venir nous t'en parler de ça. M'ta connais qui hope, qui espoir qui gagne pour moun Biden qui vient après 3 juin.
She said she doesn't know if we've talked about this before she came, but she wants to know what options the people that came within the program, the Biden program, what hope do they have for them? Like, what options do they have if they've came here after June 3rd?
So, ça m'te expliqué tout visa ça yo si moun nan qualifié pour visa ça kounya li ka appliquer pour yon visa ça yo mais li très important pour parler à un moun qui travaille dans domaine immigration pour ouais si gen on l'autre application li ka appliquer pour li pas si yo gen and I'll translate just to make it quicker. So the question was someone that entered through the parole program that came after June 3rd, what could they apply for? Because that person doesn't qualify for TPS. Well, everything I talked about is a option if they're eligible. So if they qualify, they may apply for one of those things, but you have to qualify for it. You have to be eligible. So there may not be anything that person can apply for, unfortunately. But if one of the things I explained, it's something that the person may be eligible for, they can apply for it. But at the moment, the parole program does not transition you into any other immigration benefit automatically.
And just to help answer that question too, and correct me if I'm wrong, both TPS and humanitarian parole don't have a clear path to citizenship. That's why you have these other programs, but the challenge in this country is that not every person qualifies for these programs. And Florida has one of the largest backlogs for immigration cases, 481,000 people waiting for their day in immigration court. We only have 2 courts in Florida for immigration, technically 3, but the third one is in a detention center in Miami. So this is one reason why the system is so broken.
So, ça dame nan di an, c'est que nan moment ça, pa gen aucun avenir vraiment de ki jan situation programme Biden nan avec TPS nan pralye. Parce que généralement, yo simplement gen deux tribunal immigration et troisième ça yo gen c'est nan yon centre détention Miami que lié. So c'est raison ça qui fait que yo gen doit pas une réponse qui concret à propos de Caroline parce que en Floride c'est un état qui gagne plus compilation de cas immigration parce que yo pas gen moun qui pour aller à travers cas ça yo qui pour approuver yo ou bien désapprouver yo.
Quickly, but let's keep our cool. Listen, both the TPS for Haiti and the humanitarian parole under the Biden program, they are still active as we sit here and talk. They are only suggesting in the future they may remove the humanitarian parole. Okay? So I don't want you guys to think that this is over. It is something that they are working on. Malé aveti?
So, tout le monde comprend ça, Monsieur Alphonse dit? Hein? Ok, so Monsieur Alphonse dit comme ça que, juste parce que dame ne répond à une question, ça veut dire que pour nous perdre du espoir. C'est juste une suggestion que yo fait qui dit que ok yo ka retirer un programme ça yo à l'avenir, mais pendant n'a parlé là, c'est des séries un programme qui toujours actif jusqu'à date que yo bail pour yo. So ça veut dire piga nous perdre du espoir, piga nous vinn comme si nous vinn c'est pas désintéressé. Yeah. Piga nous perdre du espoir pour nous dire ça que ok ça fini, toujours songer que si nous gagnons un programme ça ou bien nous n'ayons un programme ça TPS ou bien programme Biden, nous toujours gagnons un statut légal qui est actif dans mais nous jusqu'à date que yo ban nous.
And if anything does end by the Trump administration, there will be lawsuits challenging it. So unfortunately, a lot of this is just going to be debated, thought in the news, but in most cases it's never immediate, but it is important to stay connected.
Et puis si tout administration président Trump l'a décidé de camper programme ça yo, c'est pas un bagay qui a immédiat. Pral gen yon bon débat, pral gen yon bon parler, pral gen yon bon comme t'as dit ça la balance qui pral fait pour qu'on ait OK est-ce que y a terminé un programme ça yo. Ça veut dire que c'est pas un bagay qui immédiat, c'est pas ça veut dire que côté li dit OK nous camper ça, li pral camper là. So toujours songer ça.
I also want to say I've been practicing for years now. We survived Trump's administration before. So there are going to be a lot of lawsuits. Nothing's going to be immediate. Doesn't mean that there's a guarantee, right? Because this looks a little bit different this time, right? He's hitting the ground running a little bit different. But there are things in place. That's why we have courts that are in place to be able to review a lot of these actions that are be taking. So until we get final judgments, final ruling, lawsuits have been settled, do not lose hope because, you know, like I said, the only thing I say is we survived. We survived before. For those of you who were here, I mean, as an immigration attorney, because like I said, I also do immigration, it was the hardest 4 years of practicing, but we survived. So please don't lose hope.
Avocat dit comme ça que piga nous perdre espoir parce que c'est pas la première fois que nous allons passer par là. Nous déjà suivi une administration président Trump déjà. So fois ça li un petit gens différent, fois ça li un petit gens pire raide, mais ça pas veut dire comme si pour nous perdre espoir parce que pral gen un pile bagay qui mettait en place, pral gen un pile comme mandat qui mettait en place, pral gen un pile bagay qui va passer devant la loi et pour ça que yo créé code, c'est pour ça que yo créé tribunal loi et c'est pour ça tout que yo créé des séries lois pour nous-mêmes qui immigrants. So piga nous perdre espoir.
Thank you so much for all 4 of you that's on the panel, GAC and TKC. No problem, say Alphonse Mati of AFM Immigration Services, Immigration Specialist here in the community. No problem, say Alphonse Mati, moi c'est un spécialiste dans le domaine immigration. Simplement, c'est seulement service ça que moi offrir dans la communauté. Premier bagay, moi t'ai rappeler tout le monde, c'est que c'est pas ICE seulement qui a possibilité pour arrêter moun. Avec Sheriff Office là et OPD, Orlando Police Department, si vous avez arrêté famille, zami, on connaît premier bagay en pile moun que show la minute que yo bay bonna, y a payer bonna pour la guerre moun. Pas faire ça. Cherchez ouais ensemble avec un avocat immigration. Le plus souvent, c'est seulement un avocat ou bien un représentatif qui est accrédité, qui est capable d'entrer en dedans, qui peut parler ensemble avec les gens. Oui, il dit, oh, il faut nous bailler la gueule. Là, nous faisons ça, c'est permission nous bailler à ICE pour venir prendre les gens. Et même si vous avez un cas de résidence aussi, selon le crime qui te commet là, ou bien ça, vous pensez que les gens te fait, il est capable d'affecter le statut immigration. I like to give the tip of when someone is arrested, most of the time by sheriff's office or OPD, it doesn't have to be ICE. When they're brought to the local holding cells, 33rd, whichever, as family members and close friends, we tend to jump at the shot to go pay bond. Please, please, I beg of thee, do not pay that bond. That person is eating, they're sleeping, they may be cold, but they're in a safe environment. For now, because as soon as we pay that bond, we are triggering immigration to come pick up our loved one, and then it becomes a whole stickier mess. And please, 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 pas faire ça. Deuxième bagay la, pour application asile yo, avocat a parlé de l'IA. Gen pile moun qui gagne ça y les multiservices yo. Moi pas pour multiservices yo non. Mais avec application asile là, c'est un bagage qui est très fragile. Oui, application gratis. Mais si bagage là mal rempli ou bien si pi devant avocat qui travaille pour gouvernement dit comme ça que ça c'est une application technique remettre pour que jeune ka travail et pas vrai c'est menti ou bail. Ça capable un problème pour ou gen pas gain résidence ou bien à trouver citizenship dans pays à plus devant. S'il vous plaît, panique ba moun fait une application asile pour ou pas connaître qui ça qui dans histoire pas traduit en anglais et puis moun nan juste voyer l'aller pour mémoriser si ou pas gen ou pas connaître parce que connaît oh oui m'te gon application asile. Please, there are a lot of multi-services out there that are providing immigration services and they are filing asylum applications. Please, asylum application is not a quick slap together kind of application that you just send into USCIS or supposed to be a notice of filing if you're in court, but USCIS, there could be repercussions in the end. See if the story doesn't have any depth to it and they're saying this is a fraudulent, you just did it just because you wanted interim benefits, it could be a problem for you later. You could be barred from any immigration benefits in the future. Pas aller nommer n'importe qualité moun juste parce que yo fait pour moins scope. S'il vous plaît, cherchez parler ensemble avec moun qui connaît ça y a faire, qui connaît ça y a dire dans le domaine immigration parce que la mal pour nous. Et puis devant nous si nous te connaissons nous mais GAC grâce à GAC qu'on est là département chambre pour haïtiens américains ensemble avec TKC qui fait genre de bagages ça yo. S'il vous plaît, posez mon yo question, yo venez avec quatre si nous pas parler ensemble avec yo là, allez dans office yo parler ensemble avec yo concernant problème pas nous parce que le plus souvent nous parler des problèmes nous ensemble avec l'autre monde qui pas connaît mais nous pas parler côté professionnel yo. And my last question is for the representative. I have some clients that have children that are in the OCPS system. And they are starting to hold these children from going to school. And pour moun qui parle créole yo, gen pile parents qui gen ti moun dans l'école dans OCPS département Orange County, dans l'école so high school, middle school, elementary school, yo commencé paix. Parce que gen ICE qui commence à frapper porte en série de moun, en série de zones, yo di yo pa voye ti moun nan l'école encore. Et moi connais pas boy ici, moun qui responsable là, moun qui que l'état reconnaît comme parent ti moun ça, les ti moun nan pas l'école, c'est ou même yo ka arrêté yo. And I know that parents could be arrested or legal guardians could be arrested. So can you shed some light on that and what is being done to kind of help alleviate that?
Absolutely. Thank you for all your leadership too, and for all the good advice as well. This Tuesday, the Orange County Public School System had a board meeting, and at that board meeting, this was one of the topics of debate. They released preliminary guidance. I don't know if you want to translate this right now so we don't make it too long.
So, ça madame nan di an c'est que yo comprendre et yo connaît que ça tout ça yo a fait que ay ça frappé n'importe monde etc. Mais yo commencé à publier des séries notes qui cap guider ou comme des séries options que ou gagne des séries direction en fait qui cap pour connaître qui ça pour faire.
So the first guidance they put out was an email to all the school principals, and the email stressed federal protections. So we do have federal protections called FERPA, which is supposed to respect student privacy.
So yon nan direction sa yo, yon nan bagay sa yo que yo commencé renforcer c'est que gen yon option qui relè FERPA qui vient kounya permettre que ti moun yo gen confidentialité en tant que étudiant. Ça veut dire pas gen aucun l'école yo voye email ça by toute l'école qui nan OCPS là qui fait yo connaît que ti moun yo gen droit à confidentialité, ça veut dire yo pas gen droit pour yo by aucune information quand il s'agit de statut légal ti moun ça.
It's very similar to how we have HIPAA, patient privacy. There are protections in current federal law for students as well. The challenge is how do these laws interact with President Trump's executive orders?
So, même genre avec l'hôpital, côté que l'hôpital gen sa ki rele HIPAA, yo pa ka bay aucune information de ou même en tant qu'on patient. Kounya c'est loi ça que yo vinn créer pour ti moun yo pa ka bay aucune information à propos de ti moun yo qui dans l'école là. Ça qui vinn problème kounya c'est qui gens que loi ça interact avec ordre exécutif que président Trump signé yo.
So the short answer is, unfortunately, the school board is still trying to figure it out. But the debate on Tuesday night led to some recommendations from the school board to the county attorney to create updated guidance.
So, ça qui passe là kounya c'est que yo toujours a essayer joindre quelques moyens pour yo empêcher ordre exécutif que président Trump signé yo vini à l'effet. Mais mardi yo te fait un débat côté que yo a travail pour créer nouveau direction, nouveau guideline pour empêcher que confidentialité pour empêcher que yo vin comment on dit ça là pour empêcher que yo enfreint aucune confidentialité que ti moun yo gagne à l'école là.
And some of those recommendations include that a judicial warrant must be received and is not treated the same as an administrative warrant.
Yon guidance sa yo mande que moun ki pral mande information sa yo gen yon mandat qui c'est un mandat judiciaire, c'est pas même bagarre avec un mandat administratif. Mandat judiciaire est très différent.
That a parent must be notified if there's any warrant requested, any communication requested, and if it is a judicial warrant and legal gives permission for a conversation, that an administrator be present with the student.
So ça vient loi ça qui côté que faut que gen un mandat judiciaire, ça que ça vient permettre c'est que si kounya la gen moun ka parler à gen moun ki pral vle parler avec ti moun yo, ça mande que yon parent présent et si que yo bay accord pour yo parler avec ti moun yo, ça mande que gen yon administrateur dans l'école là qui présent avec ti moun ça. Ça veut dire yo pas ka parler avec ti moun ça si si parent pas notifié et si pas gen yon moun dans chambre ça avec ti moun ça.
And that the school resource officer, the officer that's on school, does not operate like ICE.
Et que gagne des mesures qui mises en place pour que police qui dans campus là, police qui sous la cour l'école là, pas gain aucune opération qui en rapport avec ICE. Ça veut dire que moun sa yo pas gain aucun accord ou bien yo pas gain aucun yo pas permettre yo agir comme agent ICE.
So that is the discussion happening right now, and we're still waiting for updated guidance from Orange County Public Schools.
So ce débat ça qu'a fait kounya c'est ça que yo still attend pour yo connaître qui ça qui définitive avec Orange County School, mais pour nous connaître que OK c'est ça qui mise en place pour ti moun yo.
So I would recommend right now for every child to have a Know Your Rights card. And there are copies you can find with wehaverights.us and other immigrant rights organizations.
So nous demandons pour ti moun yo, si nous gen ti moun que n'a voye l'école, pour ti moun sa yo gen yon papier qui en rapport avec droit que yo gen. So faut que yo gon papier Know Your Rights, côté que nous gen copie derrière tout si nous ta remet prend copie sa yo pour ti moun sa yo, pour yo connaître exactement qui droit que yo gen en tant que immigrant.
And it's something very simple. It's a card that you can give to an officer that says, right now I'm choosing to exercise my legal rights. I will remain silent. I refuse to answer your questions. If I am detained, I have a right to contact an attorney. I refuse to sign anything without advice from an attorney. So you would hand this to that your child can have this and just hand it and not have to answer any question.
Et papier ça c'est un papier qui bien simple, il très simple et ça sous papier c'est que si ti moun sa li longe papier ça bay officier ça veut dire que ti moun dit que li kounya la exercer droit li en tant que un citoyen et que li pa gen aucun droit pour parler avec aucun monde, li pa gen aucun droit pour bay aucune information, li gen droit avec un avocat et que papier ça basically c'est ça que papier en veut dire. So, faut que nous bay ti moun yo papier si n'a voye à l'école, make sure que nous gen papier pour ti moun au moins li capable bay n'importe monde qui interact avec yo capable longer papier ça bay yo.
Nous tenons m'davle nous connaît nous gen carte là avec nous so yo c'est ti carte rouge yo. So nous gen assez pour tout moun point au ka bay ti moun yo mais ça m'vle nous comprendre ça c'est en carte et c'est en papier ça pas vle di yo pas arrêter ti moun nan aussi yo pas arrêter ou ka toujours rester silence et yo arrêté ou aussi yo pon ou mais kat là aider ou à droit ou li fait ou connaît droit ou et li fait yo connaît ou kon droit ou aussi so ou dit m'pa vle parler kounya yo pas ka servi yo pas ka de moun nan te di tel bagay parce que ou te gete di yo ou pas vle parler kounya wap di on vle un avocat on m'appelle les avocats moins kounya ou fin parler même besoin nous comprendre kat la pas vle di yo pas ka parler avec ou aussi yo pas ka arrêter ou. So we have the red cards here with us. I want to note that the red cards are Know Your Rights cards. So they provide education on your rights. However, it doesn't prohibit ICE or any other law enforcement from detaining you. Unfortunately, they may still detain you or your child. However, it educates you and it shows them that you know your rights. And you're saying, I would like to use my right to remain silent. So I do not want to speak with you or I want to call my attorney. So it helps you show what your rights are. However, this is not a magic card that can stop what unfortunately may happen. And so we want to make sure that everyone understands that and we're clear with that information.
I think it's also important that you talk to your kids. We've talked to you about you stating your rights, but you need to talk to your kids. Timon piti sayo, parle avec yo. Right? Si yon moun vin parler avec ou dans l'école, bien a dit rien parce que yo ka comprendre ça. Okay? So c'est pas simplement just cut la pour ou mais fait ti moun yo connaît pinga yo parler même les moun a demandé aux questions pinga yo parler. So ça très important ou parler avec yo parce que si yo pas connaît yo commencer parler then right? You a parlé, right? So just parler avec ti moun yo pour yo connaît pinga ouvert bouche yo parler avec ken moun si moun si l'état vinn dans l'école là dit m'vle maman. Mande pour maman. OK, mande pour un parent, yo den fait silence, OK?
Merci pour l'intervention nous. Gen plusieurs petites questions qui étaient n'a demandé pour moun yo rattraper questions yo. Donc Kounia là, m'a posé une question, je connais online, n'a pas le fait, mais n'a posé une question pour mon online. Il dit que, est-ce que si asile moins dismiss, moi pas de gain en joindre 4 travail moins en balle, moi pas qu'à refaire demande là encore.
4 travail là aussi application asile là.
Si asile moins dismiss, moi pas de gain en joindre 4 travail là en balle, est-ce que moi qu'à refaire demande là encore?
Si moi comprends une question bien, c'est pas asile là qui dismiss. En pile moun qui jambe frontière, là yo rentré ici automatiquement yo mette yo sous processus déportation. Moun sa yo si yo présenter dossier yo bien en la première revue, juge là gen droit dismiss dossier déportation ça. OK? Ça veut dire plan que gouvernement a gagné pour apporter une jambe frontière qui se retourne en côté sorti li fermel li pas ka rouvrir encore pour les déporter. Juge là a toujours bon choix pour redéposer asile ça. Mais ça monsieur a posé on sait que si que après il fin dismiss dossier ça, il pas de temps fait 4 travail. Ou pas capable planter un pied bois dans l'espace. Donc, on a besoin de terre qui c'est en base pour planter pied bois ça qui sont 4 travail. Si que vous fermez dossier déportation ou pas de faire 4 travail ou pas qu'à appliquer pour un 4 travail en bas asile parce que dossier asile ça li même tout li fermé. Juge là a toujours bon droit et l'a dit que ou ka réappliquer pour asile ça. Même s'il te gagne plus que 1 an, juge là ouvre fenêtre pour déposer asile ça. Si vous fait ça, qu'on y a là, ou pral return et pour appliquer pour un cas de travail en bas. C'est réponse là ça. Quickly, let me just say it in English for those who don't understand. So, if you cross the border and automatically USCIS will put you in removal proceedings. You have 365 days to file for your asylum then. If you file within that time frame and you present your case well, the judge may decide to dismiss your removal proceedings. As I said in Creole, you cannot plant trees in space. You need a foundation. The asylum is your foundation. So, with that foundation being dismissed with your removal proceedings, you cannot, at that time, file for your work permit because you no longer have that foundation. However, the judge will open a window for you to resubmit your asylum case if you feel like you still have an asylum case. That way, instead of coming back to the judge, you will be going in front of a USCIS officer to plead your case. And in that instance, you would be able to then reapply for your work permit under said asylum. Not the first one, but the second one.
Ok, moi dis nous merci pour quantité d'informations ça que nous partager avec la communauté. Alors question nous concerne spécifiquement et ça nous relève visa familial. Et supposons par exemple un monde qui était à Haïti quelques années avant et que il était un seul ou un frère qui t'a appliqué qui déposé une pétition pour lui dans USCIS qui concernait un visa alors excusez-moi et application pour résidence, OK, et que kounya là il arrive que moun yo te fil pour lia moun ici États-Unis et que il gon l'autre statut par exemple qui t'a TPS, OK, et qui alors questionnement peut-être c'est peut-être 2 volets 2 ou 3 volets qui ça et comment et pétition ça que moun a gagné je dis là alors que l'il te fait là il te fait sur adresse que il te gagné Haïti moun n'a pas Haïti encore le statut TPS ici comment et pétition ça capable servir moun ici contre menace sur question immigration qui gagne et Deuxième bagay, qui sa moun sa ka fait pour ta fait USCIS kounya la connaît que li pas été Haïti encore, c'est ici les États-Unis dans la mesure où tu as gagné des communications qu'a voyer, c'est pas Haïti pour voyer pour lui, c'est ici si ça marche. Et troisième bagay, qui moun qui ka aider moun dans ce sens ça? Qui catégorie de professionnels en immigration qui a aidé moun dans ce sens ça? Merci.
Avant que je réponde à la question, là, je vais traduire. So the question is this. If a person was in Haiti, had a family member applied for a petition for them, now they find themselves here in the United States under any other of the statuses that exist, example TPS, what can be done to alert USCIS, in that case NVC, that the person is no longer in Haiti, they are here, and who should the person see in order for that to happen? Bon, yo réponse très courte. Question là vraiment spécifique. OK? Par contre pour deux avocats yo. Mais en général, je m'a fait présentation comme ça yo, moi pas répondre question spécifique parce que moi pas vle pour question là faire yon l'autre monde penser qu'il fait même bagaille là. Donc peut-être ça me capable dire si yon moun pas en Haïti encore, il était appliqué pour les pendant l'Haïti, qu'on y allait ici, il y a une façon pour faire NVC, qui c'est National Visa Center, transférer dossier à venir ici. OK? Manière ça, c'est en privé pour poser question ça. So, quickly in English. If the person finds themselves in Haiti, you applied for them, now they are here. There are ways to do it. However, I tend not to answer specific immigration questions because it may make someone else believe they can follow the same path when it's not the case. So therefore, all I can say is there is a way to inform USCIS and NVC that the person is no longer in Haiti and they are here, but which way it is, you would have to seek counsel in private to do that, not in a public setting.
I would follow up in saying if someone's in, if you've applied for someone, sou fait application pour moun nan Haïti vle vini, parler avec un avocat avant moun nan vini. Parce que ça ka déranger toute application. Même là nous gen gens nous ka fait USCIS connaît, mais toujours parler avec un avocat pour comprendre qui gens ça a affecté ou parce que immigration yon bagay qui dit comme ça nous regarder intent. Sou vini ici pour intent pour gen papier, then yo ka deny application parce que il semble seule raison venir ici parce que ou vle papier a. So toujours parler avec en immigration pour qu'a connaître comment déplacer Haïti a fait comment l'a affecté parce que il a dérangé toute bagaille. Are we still translate? Oh, I can translate. So basically what I was saying to him is if you've already started an application for someone and they are trying to then travel to the United States, it's better to talk to an immigration attorney before that person's leave the country because them coming here could then mess up, even though we have ways of notifying, like he said, we can notify the National Visa Center, but that may then, USCIS may now look at what is your intent, because we're always looking at intent. Do you have the intent to enter just for the sole purpose of getting immigration status? And when you enter and how quickly you're entering from your application to when we process it, that could then pose an issue as to whether you get status. So, like he said, it's hard to kind of answer that generally, but if someone's wanting to come from Haiti in the middle application, talk to an attorney, because most of the time we're going to tell them stay where they are.
Yeah. Bonsoir tout le monde. Donc, les mois pour qu'on vienne ici, yo te fait me connaître donc dès pour venir aux États-Unis, donc c'est là qu'on doit pas bon venir des refuges ou te arrêter dans le pays. Donc moi ouais qu'on a là pendant ce que mon et bon, yo fait me connaître c'est États-Unis. Moi m'apprendre ça qui grand pays pour tout le monde venir des refuges même si là ou pas bon. Et question m'a posée pendant ICE ou soit président a pas pour un monde la caillou comme ça, est-ce que c'est pas une violence li fait ou soit c'est pas un sens raciste? C'est question ça m'a même posé s'il vous plaît.
So the question question was more like, so the question that he asked was that when he was in Haiti, he had been told that this is a country, a free country where everyone come for opportunities if home is not safe. So now that he is here, he wants to understand, now that he's here and ICE is put out for them and the president is executing all of these orders, is it not a question of racism, or is it not like a violation of human rights?
I mean, I thank you for your question, and I share in the frustration of the question. You know, I think that for many of us who are immigrants or of immigrant descent, we come to this country in search of the American dream, and what personally, I speaking on my behalf, what I am witnessing right now is the opposite of that. And that is why we have these forums, because we do want to make sure that for anyone in the United States, regardless of status, that you know that there are people here who care about you and are supporting you and are going to try to find a way to navigate these very uncertain times and scary times together. But we also do have constitutional rights, and we want you to remember that, regardless of your status. But the direction that we are heading right now is very anti-immigrant. There's just no way to paint it. Whether you have status or don't have status, it is a very, very scary and frustrating time for our immigrant communities. But again, we still have TPS for Haiti, and we need to remember that. You still have that path right now. And if it is taken away from us, we will fight to try to keep it. So we're going to use every tool we have to fulfill that promise. But the situation is very challenging, and that is why it's very important to know your rights, connect with these organizations, and please remember that you and your families are not alone.
Sa Madame Anna dit comme ça, c'est que li comprend frustration parce que li même tout le t'a quitté pays pour te venir ici. Ça a été fait comprendre c'est que il t'a venu ici pour être capable ou comprendre pour être capable d'accomplir rêve li, etc. Mais que kounya système que a fait c'est un système qui est vraiment anti-immigrant. Mais il dit comme ça que c'est raison ça qui fait que gain loi constitutionnelle et c'est raison ça qui fait que nous fait forum ça yo pour nous capable ba nous information que nous besoin pour nous capable nous-mêmes protéger tête nous en retour, et que faut nous toujours être connectés, faut nous toujours contacter organisation ou bien moun qui gain information qui plausible pour nous pour yo ka aider nous dans situation nous yé, et que oui que li comprendre que son situation qui très frustrant, et que en tant que immigrant que nous ça pas supposé à privé, mais c'est pour raison ça qui fait que yo mettez toute loi ça yo en place pour yo capable protéger nous, parce que nous même tout en tant que immigrant nous gain droit.
Bonsoir, nous dit merci.